Hello friends of Making Music Magazine. I'm Rhys Brigida and I'm a keyboardist here in central New York. Syracuse actually is where I live. And this video today is going to be about creativity and imagination on the keyboard. And it's not just creativity for writers or composers, but I want to put some emphasis on creativity for listening. And listening, I think, is a really important part of music. Now, what I just did there, I played a little phrase that was just a few seconds long, but it ended on a 5 chord. And you'll notice that when that happens, everything inside of you wants to resolve at that point. When you hear it end on a 5 chord, it's not really an ending. It leaves you hanging. It sets up your feelings for some sort of anxiety, and you want it to end. How would you end that phrase yourself, in your own mind, if you wanted to end it? Let me show you a couple examples. You can end it right on the 1 chord, which brings you right home to where you want to be. It makes you feel good to do that. I call that kind of a bed of roses ending. Another thing you might want to do is this. What I did there was trick the ear a little bit by going up to the minor 6 chord, which in this case would be a C sharp minor. And what that does is it gives you some sort of feeling of anticipation, like you want the song to continue and do something else before it goes back down to the 1 chord. So in between there I added an F7-9 maybe with a 13th in it, and then down to the E, which is the tonic chord, which ends it for you. So in that case, once the ball is in your court as a listener or as a writer, and you want something to end a certain way, that's how the music paints pictures in your mind, and that's how you make people use their imagination while you're playing. Another option is to use a chord that sounds a little bit sinister at the end. Example. That's a minor 7th chord, but also with a major 7th stuck on the top of it. You've probably heard that in scary movies, murder mysteries. That's the chord that makes you think something bad's going to happen. Everyone listens and paints images in their head while they're listening to the music. Those images, every time you hear the same song, images come back to you, and it reinforces the feelings that you have, that you get from the music. And that's why a hit song is such a great thing, because that's how it resonates with people. People have their own mental image of what they like to hear. Now, one of my favorite examples of this is a love song. It's one of the most famous love songs of all time. It's written by Mac Gordon and Harry Warren, and it's called At Last. It's the story of a young girl who finds love, the perfect love in her life, and it happens at last, and then it ends with, it's got a happy ending to it. The song was sung by Etta James beautifully. It's got great lyrics, it's got great music. But the amazing thing about the song, the way they wrote it, the first 20 seconds of the song has a series of about maybe 8 chord changes. And within those chord changes alone, the music alone tells you that same story of a young girl's life, finding love at last. Let me just play that part. I'll play the chords on the piano, and then I'll explain to you how it happens. Okay, so it's time to explain what the chords actually mean and what images they can create in your imagination, the story of a young girl. The first chord is the 1 chord, and it's got a 5 in the bass, which creates a little bit of tension. And life has its twists and turns, so you have a metaphor for life. The second chord adds a few little twists and turns. The third chord goes up to a 4 chord, but also with a 5 in the bass, which adds a little bit of tension. Well, talk about twists and turns. Something just happened in her life. She either went to school, she met some new friends. There are things happening that maybe are different from anything else that has ever happened to her. Right? It's all there. It's right in the music. So then it returns back to the 1 chord again. Now what do you think happens right there on that change? That's asking a question, isn't it? I think she met a really great guy, but she's not really sure if he's a good guy or not, and she's not sure if she's going to fall in love. But the next chord, I think she changes her mind. It's like, yeah, I think he's okay after all. And then, of course, the ending chord is when she falls in love at last. Happy ending. Okay, to end this, I'm going to show you one more example of just a few seconds of music, and as soon as you hear it, you're going to know exactly what it is, and you're going to know where you heard it and where you saw it. Of course, you know it, right? You saw the movie, the score for the movie Psycho, and the worst, most horrible scene, horrifying scene that was ever captured on film and edited so expertly by Alfred Hitchcock. That music starts out with a simple, octave playing, but as soon as you start adding more chords to the bottom of the chord and it gets worse and louder and louder and louder, you can picture the knife cutting deeper, deeper, and deeper until Janet Leigh just had the worst day of her life, and it ended in the worst way possible. And it's all brought to life by film and the music behind it. Now, every time you hear that music, that same image hits you in the head, and it scares the living daylights out of anybody that thinks about it. That's how music paints pictures in your head. That's how music makes you feel things that you want to feel. So when you listen, it's the most important thing. Playing is great. Listening is so important. Make it paint pictures in your head and love every minute of it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.